So, Vinay, I think you can start. So please keep on mute. And if you have anything, I'll let Vinay know. If Vinay, if you can take the questions in the middle, or if you are comfortable at the end, it is your wish. So you better tell the audience what you would like to do.
Okay, sure, Sharath. I think anything
Okay,
is maybe
sure,
we can
sure,
take questions at the end, I believe. So because
sure,
that will
sure.
be so that that doesn't disturb the flow of the conversation probably.
Okay,
So well,
over to you. Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Sharath. Thanks for the introduction. About the Cheese Foundation and giving a brief. So before I start, about my subject today, which is about the gut health. Let me briefly introduce myself. As I could see most of you here, I'm sure you all we all know personally each other, but however, for the for the sake of the discussion today and for this subject, my name is Vinay Bharadwaj, as Sharath introduced. I basically comes from Mysore, but presently I live in Bangalore with my family. After my graduation, post graduation, I started working in different corporates, and now I've been a part of a multinational company which is into the retail industry, and nutrition has always been my passion. And I would say that my journey of nutrition and fitness started probably way back. 15 to 16 years back. I was predominantly when I started, it was majority into fitness, but eventually, when I got in touch with a couple of nutrition enthusiasts, that really led me to a different world altogether. So that made me to understand the nitty gritties of the nutrition. I did a lot of certifications in terms of nutrition, especially in terms of sports nutrition, weight loss, and another two, three to the list. So what has happened today is because of these. Expertise, I've been also helping and guiding a lot of people who have been having health elements, maybe in terms of weight loss, although weight loss is more of a symptom, but the addressing the root cause. So that said, that today I would be talking about the gut health. When I and Sharath were having a conversation a couple of days ago in terms of what would be the right subject to start off for the cheese talk, for the first cheese talk rather. So I thought, there couldn't be any better than talking about the gut, because our health starts with gut. I don't know how many of you are aware about, or if the word gut itself is very new to you. I would gradually introduce you to what gut health is all about and how can we have a holistic solution, which we can have from home, at our kitchens, and through the right lifestyle. So, I would be sharing my presentation in a while. So that's the background how we come up with this subject line of mind your gut. Indeed, it's such a coincidence that I've been talking on the platform of Cheese Foundation, and cheese happens to be, although cheese has got a very bad name because of the association with which generally cheese is used, such as pizza. But however, cheese is a very good probiotic. Cheese is a very good gut-friendly food. So it is such a coincidence that I'm talking about the gut health today. So let me share my presentation. Just let me know, anybody let me know once you are able to see my screen. Okay, I hope this presentation is visible. Can anybody confirm me, please? Sharath, can you please confirm?
Yeah, 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 Vinay. I can see it.
Okay, that's good.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's good. So, for the sake of this subject and for the discussion, I will be keeping my entire conversation or majority of my, conversation in English. I try to blend a bit of Kannada. I hope, I could sense that all of you are comfortable with English. So, don't mind about not blending, Kannada in between, if at all, if I miss it. So, I have made some notes so that I keep the subject crisp. And because Sharath told me that I would be having 45 minutes of time to share whatever I want to share in terms of the health of the gut, and probably few minutes for the questions and answers at the end. So and that said, that when I talk about gut, maybe like let me share what would be the things that I will be talking about. So I will be talking about why we have to really focus about the gut health. So if you are new to the word gut, gut is something which is your small intestine as well as large intestine. That is what your gut is. But I would be talking about the overall gastrointestinal health, which starts from the mouth and it ends at the excretory organs. And I would be talking about the gut connections. What is it? Gut connections is all about. It is all about your mind, the body. Rather the gut is connected to the entire, the health of the body. So, I would be trying to touch base on most of the things in terms of like how gut is connected to the different disorders, different metabolic syndromes, etc. And last but not least, I would also be sharing some solution, which I'm sure would be more holistic in nature. You would be able to implement. It is something like DIY kinds, do it yourself kinds, which you can all do it at your home. So what made me to bring into this subject of gut is once again going back to the statement what Hippocrates has made. So it's all about all the diseases begin in the gut, although it is not 100% accurate, but if we consider the times in which he said this, so it is definitely accurate. Why I mean to say is because today you look into majority of the health conditions, be it with respect to the quality of the skin, the quality of the hairs, it may be with respect to the digestive health, it may be with respect to the different cancers, it may be with respect to the metabolic disorders such as diabetes, cholesterol, which is to do with cardiovascular diseases, the liver diseases, which is to do with alcoholic liver or non-alcoholic liver diseases. They are all originated because of the abnormality in your gut. I don't know, like, you believe it or not, today in India, more than 60% are suffering from the gastrointestinal related issues. So maybe I just spoke about all the high fundu diseases or disorders. Maybe let me name few. So it can start as simple as the hair fall issues or premature graying of hairs, or it may be the sagging of the skin. It may be with respect to acidity, bloating, flatulence, whatnot. I'm sure, as you could see in the, a slide here, how many of you is something, what I can call it as a home remedy for most of the people if anybody have acidity. I was watching this advertisement recently. I don't know, like if it happens to be a new advertisement where, this is the advertisement of Eno, where there is a marriage party which is happening where somebody eats, or rather somebody was eating a samosa. He gets this heartache, a kind of a heartburn, and somebody offers him this Eno, and he have this Eno and he continues to have samosa. I don't know what are they going to communicate. The medical science or these advertisements, are they fooling people? I'm not against anybody. I'm not against Eno or Digene, or I'm not putting down anybody. But what I'm trying to bring in this matter here is that how are we getting a kind of an awareness, especially because of the social media today. That is something which I wanted to bring in here. So I was talking about all these things. I'm sure you are very very familiar with what I have mentioned on the slide here. So the inability to lose the weight, it may be with respect to the flatulence, acidity, constipation, hemorrhoids, indigestion issues. So it may be with respect to bloating, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, Parkinson's. I will go breathless, talking about all these things. The food allergies and arthritis, especially the autoimmune kind of a things, rheumatoid arthritis, and so many other things. They are all connected to the gut, by the way. And I will try to keep my entire discussion to be very simple. I don't use any technical words or scientific words, yeah, as much as possible, to understand, so that all of us can understand what I'm trying to communicate. Now, before even understand that, like how we can have a clean gut, it is important that why is it important to have a clean gut. So that's why I have just shared this picture on the slide. So I don't know, like how many of you could go back to your 8th, 9th, and 10th standards. So, probably one of your teachers might have shown or written this on the blackboard or whiteboard, and or probably, we were also asked to write this in our exams. That's what I remember. We have to write the diagram. Yeah, that's a word which we were supposed to use, the diagram of the digestive system. I remember this. I don't know, like if I can call it as a joke, or if it is something a real instance. Somebody asked about, what is digestive, what is digestion. I think teacher asked the student, what is digestion? And some naughty student stood up and said that digestion is something which starts in the right hand and ends in the left hand. I'm sorry for the dirty joke, but that's how I remember the digestion to be in the initial days, in the good old days. But I am talking about gut. Gut involves the entire digestive system. Today, the food that we guys eat, right from the time it enters the mouth, maybe it gets assimilated with saliva, the juice, the salivary juice, and then it enters into the stomach. The stomach has hydrochloric acid, which has a pH of, less than 7, to be precise, anywhere between 3.5 to 4. And then it goes and assimilates in the intestine, the small intestine and the large intestine. One thing, you probably might be aware that the entire tract of the gastrointestine contains lot of bacteria. We were told that bacteria is bad, but like, how come the inside of the body contain a lot of bacteria? So yeah, you're hearing it right. So we have good bacteria as well as bad bacteria. Of course, there is a good balance that we have to have between good and bad. Like all of us have good and bad within us. When the good overpowers the bad, we will be good. When bad overpowers the good, like, we will be bad. It's just simple, logic. And the same holds good for the digestive function as well. So when there are more good bacteria than the bad bacteria, then we will be having a healthy gut. So let me help you understand what is this gut is all about. Like in this gut, there will be having small villi. What is this villi? You can imagine to be a fishing net with a very very small nanopores, or even less than that nanopores. You can imagine these fishing nets, and the walls of this intestine, as you can see here in the picture, has this nanopores, where the food after the digestion, like protein getting assimilated, carbohydrates getting assimilated, fatty acids getting assimilated, the nutrients gets discharged to the blood. But what is happening today? We are not using the food, but we are abusing the food. Not just the food, the entire environment is contaminated, rather polluted. We are having a very wrong habits or wrong foods. We are having different aerated drinks, alcohol, tobacco. We don't have any control on the air we breathe, the water we breathe, the water we drink. So what has happened is, the food that we eat, apart from getting assimilated into the different nutrients, because of the long exposure of these toxins into the body, the fishing nets kind of a small holes is there, right? So they are getting larger gradually. It is not an overnight process, let me tell you. This is not just because this is not happening just because you have been you're a passive smoker. This is because continuously having lot of refined carbohydrates, such as refined sugars, maida, or the refined flour, aerated drinks, and whatnot. So because of this, the bad bacteria in the intestine, are making these holes a larger in nature. Because of which, what is happening is the food that is entering into the intestine is also getting, secreted into the blood. The moment the food particles, the moment the toxins, which is supposed to be excreted, is getting into the blood triggers off something called as immune system, because it treats that these food particles which is not supposed to enter into the blood has entered into the blood, and that triggers the different immune cells to attack it. This is happening on a regular basis, not with me, not with you, but many of those people who are having a very bad food habits. So what is happening over a period of time? Let me tell you, these food particles which is entering into the blood, they are mimicking the different glands in your body, different organs in your body. Why I'm telling you this? Because I'm sure you might have heard of different metabolic disorders, such as thyroid, hypothyroid. It may be with respect to the diabetes, where there is something called as an autoimmune diabetes, which is also called as a type 1 diabetes, and arthritis, which is to do with the rheumatoid arthritis. They are all because of the leaky gut. Your gut is leaking. It is not just letting the nutrients go out of the intestine, it is also letting the food go out of the intestine. So some of the food particles probably mimic your thyroid thyroid gland. So what happens is, next time when there are certain enzymes which is supposed to work on the thyroid, the body treats this as a foreign particle and it attacks its own enzymes and hormones, because of which we get something called as an autoimmune diseases. I'm sure you all know about autoimmune diseases, right? So I just spoke about lupus, psoriasis. That's a skin disorder. This that's an autoimmune disease. And in terms of immunity, there are a lot of autoimmune diseases as well. Cardiovascular diseases such as high cholesterol, liver diseases, they are all due to the leaky gut issues. So when somebody comes up with these issues, when somebody says that, okay, I have a malfunctioning of thyroid, which is like hyperthyroid or a hypothyroid, or somebody says that like I have food infections, or food intolerance, I have diabetes. What unfortunately is not going the right way is the root cause is not being addressed. We are all treating all these things symptomatically. If somebody has diabetes, doctor is probably prescribing some medication to push a little more insulin secretion in the body, or probably to control the resistance, the insulin resistance. If there is a depression, probably doctors are giving the antidepressant medication. I'm not saying doctors are wrong, the medical practices are wrong. They are very much needed. As I told you in the beginning, I'm not against anybody, but the way how we guys are treated. So we have to understand the root cause here. So that is where I told 80 to 90% of the issues today is all because of your gut. With just addressing your gut, most of the things you can manage it, or I don't even use the word manage, you can control it, you can reverse it. That's the right word, because lifestyle is so magical that you can bring back any of the issues. It can be with respect to skin, hair, nails, all these different disorders that I mentioned. So all these things can be addressed. But the thing is, how many of us want to really take care of our lifestyle? Because when I say lifestyle is inexpensive. Lifestyle don't have any money on it. So people don't sell lifestyle, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know like how many doctors has ever told to correct your lifestyle before even they're prescribing you a medication. I'm glad if somebody have already done it. Congratulations for the doctor, or the therapist rather. I mean, I have not come across personally anybody like that so far. So what is it that we have to work on? So we have to work in terms of our lifestyle. So let us look into the depression. Why today, unfortunately, we have been hearing so many cases of depression, right? So where people are losing their lives because of depression. So what happens, in the depression, there is a hormone called as serotonin. Serotonin is produced in gut, that's in your small intestine. And what does a doctor do? They give antidepressant, injections or tablets probably. And anything which is artificially induced do not stay in the body eternally. It will stay for a small period of time. You will be happy for small period of time, and once again you get depressed. So what is it that we have to do? The answer is address the gut. I'll come to the solutions at the end, but understand one thing, that we have to address the gut. What is happening in the gut? Is there a leaky gut? Is there a celiac condition? Is it a Crohn's disease? Is it an irritable bowel syndrome? Is it an acidity? Oh my God. So that's a very big thing to address. I mean, why I feel sometimes that, by doing a small little corrections, we would be all right. And we run around the whole world looking out for a solution. Look into the diabetes. Today diabetes is, two types or three types rather. Let's look into the major one, type 1 diabetes, which is more of an autoimmune, and type 2, which is 80% of the population is type 2 diabetes today, which is because of insulin resistance. So you are resistant to insulin. It is not that insulin is not available in the body. Insulin is sufficiently available in the body. But the thing is, your body is not utilizing the available insulin. Why? The question goes down to, once again, gut. So what happens? Your pancreas secretes something called as insulin. It's a hormone. To secrete this hormone pancreas, there are certain microbiome that has to facilitate the production of hormones. It has to facilitate certain enzymes to be manufactured the right way. The hormones are just nothing but communicators. They communicate, the language. If it is not able to understood by the other cell, the whole hormone production is probably invalidated. So that once again goes down to addressing the gut issue. Thyroid, I already mentioned about thyroid. There is a hormone called as T3 T4. I'm sure you would have checked your TSH, T3 T4 hormones when you go for a blood profile. So these hormones, the T4 to T3, conversion, there has to be a conversion that has to happen by certain good bacteria in the body. Immunity, the same story. And the cardiovascular diseases, high cholesterol. Today, look into the unfortunate thing. People who are vegetarians, are hardcore vegetarian Jains, they are having high cholesterol issues. So does it mean that those people who eat red meat are only getting the issues with respect to the cholesterol, triglycerides? No. The cardiovascular issues is once again ramping up because of the high cholesterol and high triglycerides. That once again should be addressed through the cardiovascular, through the gut issues. So now the thing is, what do we have to do in terms of addressing all these issues? It's very simple. Why I'm saying the word simple is because all great things are simple. It is not, we just have made it a complicated thing. Let me tell you, for example, we, as we understood, we are all bombarded with, I don't know, like how many chemicals, even maybe more than 1,000 chemicals on an everyday basis. Many chemicals gets into our food, through the air, and through the water. So the first thing is, how can we have, or how can we reduce the toxicity? So how can we reduce the toxicity? I'm not talking about all the fad detox diets, which is available on the Google, or which probably a self-prescribed detoxification. Body does its own detoxification. Your liver does the detoxification. But most of you think that what is detox is all about. Like, does it really require? Isn't it a fat diet? No. Having the right quantity of fruits, vegetables every day helps in, or rather facilitates the body in terms of detoxifying certain organs. So it is important to detoxify at least in a month time, because you don't even know that how many chemicals are getting into the vegetables and the fruits that we are eating. Although the good quality of the fruits and vegetables always overpower the chemicals, however, to be on the safer side, it is important to reduce the toxicity. So there are certain ways how we can clean the fruits and vegetables, by using certain sodium bicarbonate, which is also called as baking soda, through which we can remove certain chemicals from the vegetables and fruits. Are we doing all these things? But is it something simple? I feel that it is quite simple. You may feel that having an organic vegetables and fruits is always a questionable thing. Yes, it is questionable thing. But however, are you considered eating 2 to 3 types of vegetables and fruits every day with almost every meal that you are having? That is simple thing, but not everybody does it. How about looking into the probiotics and prebiotics? So when I talk about probiotics, that's a big business today. I'm not talking about like the things that we have on everyday basis, like your curd or probably pickles. But look into all those advertisements which has been bombarding on the televisions, like Yakult. One says that I have 30 trillion bacterial culture. Somebody says that 11 trillion culture. I don't know how does it make sense? And they are also loaded with lot of sugars. So how can sugar be good for your gut? That's the question which I always ask for myself. Before you even go out and take that probiotics outside, think of what is something which is available in your kitchen. The curd is a fantastic probiotic. And let us look into the prebiotics. What are these prebiotics? You remember in the good old days, before having a food, people used to have raw onions, or some people used to have onions after they have the food. That's the prebiotic. Apple is a prebiotic. Banana is a prebiotic. Oats is a prebiotic. I'm sure you're all aware of something called as apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar does not help you to lose weight. I'm sorry if you believe that apple cider vinegar helps you to lose weight, but one good news is apple cider vinegar is a very good prebiotic. Fiber, having lot of fiber in your diet. When I use the word lot, don't get carried away and eat all the fruits, vegetables, and supplement it with too much of fiber. Too much of fiber is once again bad for your digestive health, especially when you guys are on antibiotics. Today, I hear from people, especially who are suffering from the different viral issues, maybe the COVID issues. They are all being prescribed with lot of antibiotics. But the thing is, are they also given vitamin B supplements? Are they also given with certain probiotics and certain prebiotics? Because probiotics does not work without prebiotics. They are like good friends. Probiotics and prebiotics should be together. If you are having already probiotics without prebiotics in your food, I don't know how much it would be effective. So that is something which is very important to have probiotics and prebiotics. Having raw food.
Hi Vinay, sorry to interrupt. Can you just tell me what is prebiotics? See, we all know that what is probiotics is. This is the first time I've heard what is prebiotics. Like, how does it work? And heng help agate? ಏನು difference prebiotic ಗೂ probiotic? Sorry to interrupt. I thought you are mentioning many times, right? I thought you should give a clarification. What is prebiotics anta?
Probiotics are something which are like this culture, which are the microbial culture, Sharath. Prebiotics is something which are having this insoluble fiber. Like I spoke about apple, onions, banana, oats. I'm sure we all know that they are having they are very rich in fiber. Yes, there are two types of fiber. One is called as soluble fiber, another one is called as insoluble fiber. I'm sure you all might have heard about something called as isabgol. Isabgol is quite popular, and probably like if somebody would have been suffering from hemorrhoids or constipation, one of your doctors might have also recommended you to take isabgol. That's an insoluble fiber. What we have to have is soluble fiber. Of course, both are important, but having soluble fiber matters most. So we have to have anywhere around 30 to 40 grams of fiber every day. Fiber is your prebiotic. So I hope that clarifies. However, like if somebody have any question, we can take it at the end of this session. Flax seeds. So we all know flax seeds to be taken for a plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, but the fiber in it is a prebiotic. So we can have garlic, ginger. They are all very good prebiotics. If somebody is already having irritability in the bowel, what is irritability in the bowel? That's called as an inflammation. All the diseases that I did mention previously, they are inflammatory diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, it can be liver issues. They are all inflammatory conditions. So if somebody is already having the stomach ulcers is one, another thing. People may question that, like, should not I consider having the spicy meals? Does the spicy meals cause an ulcer? No, the spicy meal does not cause an ulcer. But if you're already having an issue with ulcer, spicy meal may cause more damage than good for you. So I was talking about this raw food. I was coming on to the point number 3, raw food. How many of us are having a culture of having raw salads in our every meal, or probably at least 2 meals? Let's be let's give a leeway, and let's say that at least in 2 meals we have some raw vegetables and raw fruits. I'm not talking about those boiled vegetables or steamed vegetables. I'm talking about raw vegetables. Of course, if you are having certain issues, you should not take raw vegetables. We can consider that at a separate discussion. Consider that as a separate discussion. But somebody who is healthy and who want to be healthy, who don't get prone to all these issues that I just mentioned, should consider raw vegetables, raw fruits with almost every meal possible. So because they have something called as digestive enzymes in it. The moment you cook a vegetable, the moment you probably steam it, most of the digestive enzymes are dead and gone. So you are eating only for the sake of the taste, or you are probably making some sabji out of it, which is good. But are you also adding up some amount of vegetables, which is raw vegetables, which has live enzymes in it? And the sooner we eat it after the plucking from probably a plant or a tree, the better it is. However, besides doing all these things, how much are we focused about our activity, physical activity? Look into all of us today, because of we are all working from home today. We are all confined to a room or into our chairs. Anything, if you are sitting more than 30 minutes, I think you all might have read that it is as good as, I don't know, smoking how many cigarettes. So that sitting is the next smoking. I don't know. There's something like that. So are we being moving around? Are we physically active? This is one of a problem for hemorrhoids. Yeah, constipation is largely caused because of your inactive lifestyle. These are simple things. I'm not talking about those 30 minutes of pranayama or probably a workout that you do in the gym and your next 23 and a half hours that you will be sitting and couching on your chair. I'm not talking about that. Like how much of active lifestyle you have, through your day. How are you spreading your activity through your day? That is something very important. What about your caffeine intake? You know, I'm not saying you to give up your caffeine. Caffeine is, good, but once again in moderation. So are you having, 1 cup a day or almost like 3 cups or 4 cups in a day? Think of it. So there are many people whom I see like they have, 3 to 4 cups of coffee or tea in a day, which is very bad. And look into the anxiety. People are very very anxious. You get to, you have something called as the butterflies in stomach, right? When you are anxious, or probably like when there is something which is happening, when you're looking forward to some event in your family, or like something unfortunate happened, like you get anxious. So what is it that your gut is telling your brain, and you also pass some loose stools at that point of time. That gut is also called as the second brain. There is something called as ENS. What is ENS? Enteric nervous system. So you have probably heard of something called as a gut feeling. So how many of you are not heard of gut feeling, or how many of us have not told to somebody that it's my gut feeling, right? So what is it? What is this associated to? Your gut is something to do with your feeling, with your emotions, with your stress, your mind, your mood. So that's so phenomenal, right? How nature and God has made us. So how can I take care of all these things? By having mindfulness, having a mindful living. That's a big thing today. I'm not talking about all this Shri's thing, but that's the way how the lifestyle has to be led. What is mindfulness? Are you present to what you are doing today? It's a simple thing. Let me tell you as an example. Like, as you sit for your breakfast, as you sit for your lunch, I don't know if you first of all sit for your breakfast and lunch, or are you standing and eating your lunch or a dinner, I don't know. If you're sitting and having your food, that's the best thing. If you're watching a television, if you're watching your mobile, then eating it, my first suggestion is to please give it up. That is where your mindfulness comes into picture. Is the food getting into your system just because that you want to eat it for the sake of eating, and that it serves the purpose of energy? I'm sorry. Today, most of us getting into issues because of them. I don't know what is it called as. Like, it's not a mindful eating, mindful living. So we have to be mindful. Are you somebody who is eating? Are you kind of grabbing the food just for the sake of having the food and like to rush somewhere? Or are you a mindful eater? Are you eating slowly? Isn't it these simple things which our probably a grandparents taught us? But you may feel that what is this Vinay talking about, like such a simple things? No, there is no formula, there is no rocket science. It's all simple. Lifestyle is very simple. If we just practice it, we can do it. So meditation, that's why I just put everything on this slide here. Pranayama, deep breathing, eating slowly, clean eating, no sugar, less sugar, keeping yourself hydrated, no alcohol, having more greens. So that helps you. That's a solution for all of us. So if we probably include all these things as a part of a lifestyle, right, you would be able to come out of the majority of the issues. Where I've seen people suffering from acidity, and they are kind of running helter skelter to figure out a solution. It's very simple. I mean, when I say simple, it's logically very simple. Of course, we have to medically, it has to be treated, it has to be taken care through different food, lifestyle changes, etc. So that is something, which I wanted to, share with all of you. So if we take good care of, our gut through, by doing a bit of changes in all these things, I feel that, I personally feel that, we can take control of the entire health. I myself see a great probably a kind of a change, I would say, from 2018 to 2020. I was around 74 or 75 kilos in terms of weight. Like, I was working out. As I told you, I've been working out in the gym, for over 15 years. It's not that I was mindful of losing the weight, but the moment I thought of working on my weight and leaning down, from 75 to 64 or 65 today. So it's not a big achievement, which it is possible. But like, while I was working out, I was also not so conscious about eating the right foods at that point of time, 2 years before. So why I'm just quoting this is not to kind of pat on my own back, but that's something, when you are mindful about what you're doing, that is possible. So that's the hope I want to give to all of you, because I see that with every household, whatever I just mentioned here is very much common, including our family. So this is pretty common. But what is it, I cannot do on behalf of somebody, but somebody takes charge of their health. It is very much possible. So that is the hope I want to give to all of you. So what is it that you have to do? So that is what I've given on the slide. If you are able to see it, eat slowly, move fast, not to anywhere, like if you're walking to go and grab a glass of water, like, move fast, don't go slowly, don't have the sluggish nature, and live mindfully. So that is something which I wanted to share from my end. So with the only hope that whatever I've shared so far for last 35 minutes has added even 1% of value to your knowledge, I would be more grateful. With this, I wish you all the best, and thanks a lot. And I will be, here to have a conversation, chat, any questions and answers with all of you. I hope it made some sense. Love to hear your feedback, your comments, maybe on the chat box.
Hi. Yeah. Thanks, Vinay. Thanks for the wonderful talk. So we are open for a Q&A now. So one thing is, if you have any questions, please do switch on your video, introduce yourself, because most of them I'm not, I don't know them. So please introduce yourself, and you can shoot your questions to Vinay. Can you please do that? I think it's open for you now. Anyone can ask anything regarding the slides to Vinay. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, Vinay.
Hi.
Are you hearing me?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, for the sake of newcomers in this webinar, I am Kumaraswamy, yes, residing in AGS layout. Vinay, I have got one or two questions. What is the role of this leaking gut on somebody getting the headache and they get chakkar on their head? So what is the role of that? Second one is, for overcoming the leaking gut, how does drinking water habits play a role?
That's a nice question, Kumar Uncle. Actually, for the leaky gut, as I told you, leaky gut is not something which is happening overnight. It is caused because of, constant bad eating habits and various other things, lifestyle habits, which I mentioned. So what is leaky gut? As I told, it is where the nutrients are getting leaked. Not just nutrients, even the food particles are getting leaked into the bloodstream. So in order to do that, the only thing that we have to do is having a right balance of good bacteria and the bad bacteria. So the moment we start, there is something called as SIBO, that is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. As I just told, there is a good bacteria as well as a bad bacteria. The moment you are feeding the intestine with lot of sugars or with junk, processed food, colors, preservatives, you are only feeding the bad bacteria. So what we have to do, the moment we start nurturing the good bacteria by having this prebiotics, probiotics, of course, don't get carried away by the terminologies. It's something mean that the greens, leafies, vegetables, fruits, nuts, legumes, seeds. So these are something, as we start feeding the body in the right proportion, once again, having the food in the right timings is something very important. Today, what has happened, what I understand is we have some food. Suppose like we have lunch, we go on and have some snack after the lunch. What is this causing? Maybe it can be anything. Most of the time when I use the word snack, it is always a junk. Maybe it can be even from the spiced coconut, probably groundnuts to any other thing, which is available at our homes or our kitchens. So this is something once again bad for our bad bacteria. So definitely, having all these things would help to overcome the leaky gut. Leaky gut is once again a complex situation, because we consider that to be as a celiac disease, Crohn's disease, and so many other things. Hydration do help. We have to have dietary modifications to overcome the leaky gut issues, because I have seen people with leaky gut issues having the issues with respect to the low vitamin B levels, low vitamin D levels, vitiligo, psoriasis, and so many other things. I hope I answered your question, Kumar uncle.
Thank you, Vinay. Thank you.
Vinay, I have Malini who's asking in the chat. She asked, tell something about mood swings which affect our eating habits. So she has put it in the chat.
Okay. Hi, Malini. So as I told you, especially the mood swings, right? This is once again controlled by what you're feeding to your brain. Sorry, what you're feeding to your gut. So this once again, it's a kind of a ripple effect, I would say. This is once again like your, it is not once again which is happening because of one-time wrong eating. So this is because of what you have been getting fed for last many years. I see this especially a problem with respect to the children today. Why I'm bringing the matter of children is because today everybody has small kids at home. Today, when we feed, when we offer them, as a reward, some candies or some chocolates today, I don't call it as a gesture of love. I probably say it as a gesture of stupidity. The same thing which holds good for us, for the reason because when we as an adults, as a grown-ups, when our motor skills are completely matured, when we ourselves can't take care of the food that we are eating, and that eventually do lead to the mood swings, that do eventually disrupt the balance in terms of the emotions and the feelings that we have, that we crave for. So this is obviously a problem even with the kids as well. So what are you indicating to the child? First of all, with respect to the physical attributes, you're telling that like you do something, we are giving a candy or a chocolate, and for ourselves by eating a lot of food, like we are craving for the other things. Once again, this craving can be also because of certain deficiencies, such as magnesium deficiency, and especially somebody who is acidic is prone to have magnesium deficiency. And what is, I showed the pictures in the previous slide that, by having ENO or Digene, have this, element of magnesium in it, and magnesium causes loose stools. You have a lot of magnesium because magnesium relaxes the muscles and you have loose stools. So what does the companies do? They put in something called as aluminum sulfate. And if you go back to your kitchens, how many of you have aluminum vessels at home? Probably none, right? We are all using the stainless steel, because aluminum is so dangerous. It is carcinogenic. But how many of us are mindful while we have So it is important, in terms of, it is not something which once again, which is going to happen overnight in terms of controlling the mood swings. This is a constant effort by having a mindful eating the right choices, by supplementing it with, right supplements. If you are found to be deficient with certain vitamins and minerals, especially if somebody is acidic. I want to talk about acidity just because the question is in related to the mood swings. And I also brought up the topic of acidity. When somebody think of acidity, they think that, the body has, or stomach has a lot of acid in the body. It is wrong. Body has less acid. That is the reason you're having acidity. That is the reason you are having the reflux, where the food is coming on top of it. There is a kind of an inflammation. There is a kind of an irritability. So the thing is, what we have to do, address the deficiencies through right quality of supplements, That is once again, we have to be very, consciously choose the things, because when somebody say that, supplements, they go out and take something which are synthetic in nature. It is always good to have something which is natural, because first of all, we are, I spoke so much about the food in terms of toxicity, and there is no point in spending money on terms of which is something which is once again toxic, or which is something which is laboratory made. So in that way, I feel that, having the right food, it's a discipline, it's a consistent and a persistent effect once again, which is going to give rewards for our health, be it in terms of mood swings, or in terms of not craving for the food. That is what I would like to share here, Malini. Thanks for the question.
Hi Vinay. So do you think the COVID situation has made it worse regarding the gut health? I think Indians are getting aware of it, right? Maybe they had it before. They were not aware. So the elders used to tell, oh, you eat, you drink something, it will be fine. But I think after the COVID situation, the Indians are getting aware of the health issues they're having, because they've got time to sit and think over, and that is making them conscious about their health. What do you think will be the future in regards to the gut health? The Indians, how do they manage it now, or how do they tackle it? Now that they're aware that there's a problem.
True, Sharath. I think, anything we know is as good as we, do it on a daily basis. So, it is not about knowing, it is all about doing. Because people know so many things today, the information is no shortage. So it is all like how we implement, how we be mindful about it, and how we practice it on a daily basis. That would be the game changer, is what I feel, Sharath.
Yeah, Samita, go ahead.
Vinay, even I want to ask you a question. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. My name is Samita. I'm from Bangalore, and I'm a teacher by profession. So my question, I think there are like a couple of things that are interrelated. So you're talking about mindful eating and various aspects. And recently I have gotten more awareness about the timing at which we eat. So I want to know, especially in the initial days when you are maybe used to eating dinner at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and then you realize that eating that late is not very good. So you start eating, say, at 8 or 7:30. So I want to know, like, how do you know that this is the right quantity of food for your body? Because our body initially is so much used to putting in junk, and then it just fills us up too early. And now when you suddenly believe and get aware about eating healthier, and then when you start doing that, you really don't know if you're actually full or not. Maybe your body has gotten enough amount of food in terms of the energy or the nutrients, but how do you realize that if you're actually full, or if you're just feeling hungry for the craving of it? That's the first thing. And second of all, you were talking about mood swings and how it affects eating, right? So I want to know if mood swings make you eat more, or you end up eating more because you have mood swings. So I've also heard that people who are kind of in depression or who are not in very good mood, they have cravings for food, and they automatically tend to choose fast food or food that is tasty. So they just end up eating junk or something like that. So how is it related? So is it like you end up eating more because you're having a bad mood, or you have a bad mood because you're eating more? So how is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's nice question, Samita. I think, that is more of a vicious cycle, I feel. It is, I don't know, like, if it has to be always related to you're in a bad mood, that's the reason you eat more, or, you're not eating properly, and that's the reason you go on a bad mood. Once again, it is all to do with deficiencies. I use the word something called as imbalance. Anything that we are seeing today in terms of disorders, metabolic disorders, they are all imbalance in the cell. So what is this imbalance all about? It's all to do with the small micronutrients. Of course, we cannot really measure each micronutrients that we are eating, but at least on a very big picture, at a larger perspective, are we eating at least 3 to 4 fruits, 3 to 4 colored fruits, 3 to 4 different colored vegetables every day? So that kind of brings up the discussion in terms of understanding, like, are we doing the right practices in the first go? Number one. And of course, today, depression, stress, this is multifactorial. It is not caused just in home. It is like from outside as well. Like we live outside, majority of our hours are spent outside today. So how good are we? Because each one of us react to stress differently. One may react to a cockroach, very differently than somebody else react to the same cockroach, right? So it is all how tough we are internally. So that is the reason I brought up that subject of having this deep breathing, being mindful, and all these things. And to the first question which you asked, Samhita, is about portion size is something very, very important in the food. It is not about just when do we realize that we have to stop eating. So that is, once again, we have to discover ourselves as we keep eating it. So I know that it expands because when we are fasting, or when we are like now it's a Dasara, like people do fast. We do feel sometimes that by having like two banana, or like one bowl of amaranth porridge will make us full. On the probably on the another day, if I go to a marriage, I eat a 7-course meal. So the digestive system is definitely expandable, but we have to be, once again, I will use the same word, being mindful, knowing the portions. You may eat 10 things, but are you conscious? Are you aware of the portions what you're eating, or you're just eating just because it is available? So that is something very important. So portion size is something very important for us, for your mind to say that, okay, you have to stop it. So there is a hormone called as ghrelin hormone, which is a satiety hormone. So that says that please stop eating. So if you are watching television and eating it, the ghrelin hormone stops performing. You don't even get to know how much food you ate. So that is the reason I always say that see the food and then eat it, rather than watching something else or somebody else and eating the food. It's like going back to our roots, sitting on the floor and eating the food. That's what I feel, Samhita. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Seema. I think you had a question. Can you go ahead, please?
Yeah. Thanks, Vinay. Very informative, educative session. It's helping me understand my gut, even more better. I just want to know that, some
Madam,
things that we
excuse
could.
me. Excuse me, madam. Seema, madam, can you please introduce yourself, madam?
Okay. My name is Seema. I'm from Bangalore. And is there anything else that I need to introduce?
Thank you. Carry on. Take care. Carry on.
Okay. Vinay, some foods that we could eat 10 years back are not easily digestible now as we age. So, what could be the reason? Because of food, of course, there is a change in the way it has been grown, manufactured. But apart from that, it's the same stomach and gut. So, how can we improve so that the digestion is good?
If you can help me quote one or two things, ma'am, that you just mentioned about which are those foods which are not digestible, as we grow older.
Sometimes it could be, kidney beans like rajma, it could be chana, it could be, besan, some things like those. Yeah.
One of the common things, especially with respect to the digestive health, people say is, when I have beans, when I have lentils, when I have dals, I get flatulence. I have a bloating feeling. It is all to do with the science of cooking the rajma or dal. I'm sure, we all know that, or we are supposed to soak the dal for almost 8 to 10 hours before we even cook it. Today, because of the fast paced life, I don't know how many families do soak the dal for almost 8 to 12 hours. And there are something like, having the right prebiotic combination, and the probiotic combination as we have the food. The combination of the food that matters a lot. Are we just eating only lentils in our food, or are we also balancing it? In Ayurveda, as we call it as Shita, Vata, as well as Kapha, right? So are we having such a kind of a balance in our food as we eat it, or is it something we are just only having one type of probably a combination of meal every day? That also do matter, because all these things, maybe in terms of kidney beans or dal or any other thing, irrespective of the age, it is only the science of cooking that matters. I feel that that link is missing today, which has caused a kind of a notion with people thinking that by having kidney beans or lentils or chana, they get flatulence. They get what is called as gas.
So what would you suggest? What's the best way? Just the soaking part, or because it's an instant world. So instant things are important, though we are making it at home. But sometimes you run out of ideas as to what to cook. So sometimes you might forget to soak. What is the other best way to improvise that the gut absorbs and digests better?
Once again, absorption is a multifactorial thing. But however, to avoid the flatulence or bloating, we can always use ginger with the food. Uh, Ginger and onions. As I told you, they are a very good garlic. They are a very good prebiotic. So they would reduce, whatever the effects of not soaking or not properly cooking it, things like that. So it kind of reduces the other effects of having lentils.
Thank you, Vinay.
Welcome, man.
Yeah. Vinay, can we wrap it up, or do we have time?
Hi, Vinay.
Yeah. Hi, Suhas. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Suhas here. I have a quick question. Thanks for all the information, first of all. So this is Suhas. I'm from Bangalore. I'm engineer by profession. So Vinay, my question is, so does occasional fasting anyway helps the digestion? If it does, how I need to know?
Thanks for reminding me, Suhas, of the word fasting, which I was supposed to use it as I share the information. It is not just about occasional fasting. We all might have heard of something called as intermittent fasting, dry fasting, water fasting, and so many types of fasting. And now fasting. This is the season of fasting. So fasting should be used. I always believe that the body is made to heal itself naturally. You need not require any kind of medication or any other thing to heal our body. Like look into animals. Animals do not take any antibiotics. They don't get into any medications to heal itself. They naturally heal. So what does an animal do? I have seen closely, in my friend's house, they had a couple of cats and also, dogs. When they weren't feeling well, they don't eat any food. They kind of go on starving, till the time it recover. So fasting, is wrongly taken as dieting today. Fasting is completely different. It is not dieting. So fasting is something very important. So it is good to fast at least once. That is the reason in the good old days, where our parents used to, have all this, having a very limited foods or no food at that point of time. There is also multiple types of fasting which has to be done under a medical supervision if somebody is already having a medical condition. So fasting is very important. Suhas, thanks for bringing that matter.
Thanks, Vinay. So probably once in 15 days would be good, I believe.
Yeah. So we can also have a lifestyle of having 2 meals in a day. I mean, if that is possible, within 8 hours, which is also called as intermittent fasting. So that can also be followed. Or if that is not possible, we can also have like once in a week or once in 15 days, or go on a very lean diet. So where I call it as like fruit challenge, vegetable challenge. You can call some challenge for yourself and put it on the social media, where you eat only fruits, vegetables through the day. So that it kind of detoxifies and helps your system to be rejuvenated.
Okay. Thanks, Vinay.
Vinay,
One question.
Vinay,
Yes, Kumar uncle.
Hello, Vinay. Can I proceed?
Hi. Yeah.
Hi, Vinay. I'm Sheetal. So thank you for this wonderful talk and a lot of information which will definitely help a lot of us here to mind our gut and to have that strong gut feeling. I have one question, maybe 2 questions. The one is there is a lot of talk which goes around telling that you should have food when you are hungry, and the other concept is you should have food in every 2 hours gap. Definitely, I consider what you have had your first food 2 hours before. Depending on that, you should plan your every food at 2 hours and or have food at whenever you are hungry. That is the first thing. The second thing is the gut has to be strengthened right from the younger age. So is there some tip that you would give to strengthen the gut for the younger kids?
With respect to the first question, where we have to eat once in 2 hours or when we are hungry. So that once again depends on what is our health goal. It is not necessarily that one has to eat once in 2 hours. It might be if somebody who is like having a diabetes. For them that may help, or even for those people who are diabetic, even intermittent fasting may help. So we have to look into what is their health goal, depend basis which we can decide whether we need to eat once in 2 hours or we need to eat once we are craving for the food. So that is something which I would like to answer for the first question. And for the second question, in order to strengthen our gut, it is once again when you say strengthening the gut, I understand that it is probably to have a good balance of a good bacteria and a bad bacteria, and to ensure that the assimilation and the proper digestion is happening. So I feel that that is the only way how we can ensure the gut health good, by having at least 2 to 3 types of fruits, vegetables in a day, and by reducing the inflammation in the body, which is possible by having omega-3 rich food. It can be such as flax seeds, chia seeds, sesame seeds. By reducing the refined vegetable oil, refined seeds, oils, we can go for virgin oils, cold pressed oils, and having coconut oil, ghee, which are anti-inflammatory in nature. And also, if your food is not giving all these things, it is always good thing to substitute or supplement it through the right supplements. So that is the way how we can strengthen or have a balance, strike the balance in the gut.
Okay. Another one last question, with regard to food and the food pattern, which will definitely affect our gut. There is a lot of saying that it is good to avoid milk because of the lot of hormones that it contains. I'm not talking about the organic milks which are available. I'm just talking from the point of view of a normal milk. So, is it good continue with the other sources of dairy products, could be like curd or ghee, which is not food at home but brought from outside, and the paneer and all the other dairy food. Though we tend to avoid milk because of the hormonal challenges, is it good to continue with the other milk dairy products?
If you're talking about curd, buttermilk, paneer, cheese, they are all probiotic in nature and they do not contain lactose. One of the common things which people fear is because of today, the world where people say lot many things about lactose free, gluten free, and also people talk about the lactose intolerance and the gluten intolerance today. So in a way, it is good to let go the milk, considering the ill effects that we may have because of the antibiotics present in the milk. At the same time, if you don't want to give up the B vitamins which is present in the milk, which is probably not available in the plant-based milk, or which is available from the seeds, if you can probably have different types of milk in a week, out of which in 1 or 2 days we can also have milk. Understanding the fact that it might have antibiotics, but if somebody who is already suffering from gut issues such as leaky gut issues, acidity, diabetes, these conditions, it is good to give up the milk from the food, and they can go for any other thing, any other combination of milk, such as milk from almonds, coconut, chia seeds, oats, etc.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vinay.
Yeah, I think Vinay will wrap it up now. Thanks, Vinay, for your wonderful talk. We got some awareness now, at least regarding the gut and the gut feeling we had. So thanks a lot. So I would request everyone.